Hey everybody! Well, today we're going to take a look at this awesome 3D printed Wally. I absolutely love this thing. I found this on Etsy, and I am very, very impressed with this. Now, I've been looking for a Wally that was just a figure of him. I didn't want a building kit of him or a model or a Lego set or anything like that, and I didn't really want one that was remote controlled, although this one would be pretty cool having him remote controlled. But I just found this one, and it was from a seller on Etsy. I'll put a link in the description to the people that I bought it from. Very nice quality. I was impressed at how big he was. I mean, I kind of got an idea how big he was from the pictures and stuff on the Etsy site, but he's bigger than I was expecting. I don't know. It's hard to tell in pictures, but this thing is so cool because he's already built. You don't really have to do anything with him. I was kind of impressed by all the articulation, like the points of articulation with him. So as you can see here, his arm, both of them will move outward, and you can also turn his wrists here. If I can get my hands in here, you can see how they turn on both sides. And also his fingers are completely bendable. You can bend his little knuckles on all of these. I thought that was very impressive too. The whole part of the arm, the hand up on the upper part of it also turns. Now on the side here, this is another thing blew me away, is how smooth he rolls. He rolls so smooth. These treads work so good. And the printing on this is done really well. I'm not sure how they did it. It must have been like a higher grade of printing on this because the print lines are very, very minimal. I mean, they're hard to see. Plus, a lot of it has some texturing on it, which is also good. It kind of hides some of the 3D print lines. These wheels work so good. I love that these are they're already printed in. I originally thought these were just some stickers or some kind of decals they put on there, but no, these are actually 3D printed in black and white. Back here, you can see the trash compactor part of him, kind of like the back of a trash truck, which is cool. I'm not sure if these are silver. If they are, I'm going to go ahead and paint those. But this piece here, I'll explain that in a minute. And then here's the other side of him. Once again, really good movement. I mean, this is so amazing. And then on the front here, we got the Wally. And I'll get a close-up of this because I want to show you the way they did that. It was really cool. And same with this in here. There's some details up here. Now, one thing I did do right off the bat is his eyes kind of droop because it's kind of loose in here. I mean, you could probably hold it up, but as soon as you move him, one side would droop over. So I did glue inside of here to keep these so that they stay in this position because otherwise they droop from the sides and it didn't look right. So I went ahead and glued those already. And then his neck is also posable. You can turn this, and then you can also bend him this way. This one here is a little bit loose. I might glue that because I would prefer to have his head right where it's at. I kind of like this little bend in it because I think that's the way you mostly see it. And the other thing that's really cool is see the little track on the side here? Now, just like the real Wally, you can move the arm. See how that kind of moves in here? It's a little stiff in there, but you can move it around. And you can probably bring it all the way around this corner too if you want to bring it more to the front. But I'm probably not going to do that. I'll probably leave it about where it's at. So very impressed with this. All right, so let me show you the close-ups of this area. All right, so I wanted to show you the way they did this Wally because it's really neat. If you can tell, these are actually raised. The letters are raised. It almost looks like they're pieces that they inserted in there. There might be inserts. So I'm guessing when they 3D print this, it's kind of like a model, and I bet it's kind of fun to put together. And maybe they'll send it to you disassembled, and you can put it together if you want. This is another cool piece. The E, see how it's kind of inlaid inside there? So the white is kind of like a separate bit, and the red is a separate bit. I thought that was really cool, the way that looks. I thought that was just a sticker that's on there, but no, it's actually 3D printed in there. Same with this. This is not a sticker. This yellow, you can feel it. It's like a raised yellow area in there. Love the little red light here. Then we got the details up here. Remember his little recorder that he played, the music? Got the play button, stop. I'm guessing rewind, fast forward, or something like that. Maybe eject or something like that. So all of that is in there. You can also see the cool detailing on the top up here, like the little panels. Remember how he could put his head down inside there, and then he could turn into like a little cube. Very cool. Look at the details on the eyes. I love the texturing around the silver sections here. I mean, that looks so good. They even have his eyebrows, these little parts right here. And I can't remember if those are brown or not. I'm going to probably... Now, I'm going to weather this guy. I mean, he's too clean. In the movie, of course, he was very dirty. And so I want to make him look weathered. And I did a video on a... see how this is also 3D printed? That's really cool. It's almost like these are separate pieces. But, and I'm sorry, I interrupt myself. I get ahead of myself. Here's the wheels. Look how good that looks. Look at all the detail in there. So you can kind of see how these roll. That is fantastic. I mean, that is a really cool thing. There's like even wheels back in the back section. Whoever made the file for this, I don't know if the seller made the file for this or if they just make these based on a file they found somewhere, but whoever did the file for it did a really, really excellent job. Here's the detail on the back. Oh, this is so cool. Absolutely love this. So as I was mentioning, I do want to weather him up. Now, I did a video a while back. It was quite a while ago. And I took one of the Lego Wallies, and I wanted to see if you could possibly weather Lego. And I did. So I'm going to be using the same technique I used on the Lego one as I'm going to use on this one. I'm going to use the panel line paint. I think Tamiya makes it. I'll probably use some brown Tamiya panel line paint, maybe a little bit of black too. I'll probably do some black weathering in the gray, mostly the brown, kind of rusty looking details on his yellow part of his body. I was going to paint him, but I don't think I need to. Everything is molded in color. I mean, it looks so good. You got the gray, the silver, the darker gray, the yellow. You got the light gray here. I mean, everything looks good. They just, it's so well done. And then I'm also going to use pastels. I like using pastels to do weathering because I can just have a better control over it, you know, instead of using like an airbrush or something like that. So I'll try to get some screenshots of Wally so I can kind of look around and see how he looked and try to remember how I did it on that Lego set because that was a while ago. I know his wheels are really dirty. They look like they're almost brown and rusty looking. And also in the front here, I think these are brown and rusty looking. And then he's got that weird looking kind of sideways C. It's like it was actually a dent on the front. But I always wondered if that C was like an in joke and maybe it was the initial of the guy that designed Wally or something. You know how those animators like to do that kind of stuff. All right, well, this is very cool. I got to show you what this is for. I almost forgot about that part. So when you're buying one of these, there's a couple of choices you can make. You can just get the standard Wally, but if you want, you can pay a little bit extra and get the cooler. Look at this. It's Wally's little cooler, and this is another fantastic 3D printed thing. I mean, it looks really good. This looks just like Wally's little cooler. You can see the details on here. And then you also get the B&L logo on the front, just like in the movie. And this is a functioning one. Let's see if I can get around here, but you can actually open it up. Just like a real cooler. So there you go. You have the inside and it slides open like a real cooler. You can put stuff in there. Maybe you can 3D print some food or whatever. I can't remember what he packed with him. You can open them both ways. So you can get both ways to do it. I got to go watch the movie again. It's been a while since I've seen it. I just love that movie, and any chance to watch it anyway is fine by me. It's one of my favorite movies, but this is really cool. So that's what this little thing on the back is. Just like in the movie, Wally put this on the back of him, and you can hang this on, and there you go. You got, that's so cool. You got little Wally in his cooler. I think that's so cool. I can't remember how much extra it was for this. It was like, I don't know, $15 or something like that. I don't really remember. But I just thought it was cool. And I thought, well, what the heck? I'm going to go ahead and get the cooler because I thought it was neat. In fact, when I first opened the box, this is the first thing I took out. And when I saw how big this was, I was like, oh, wow. So that kind of gave me an idea of how big Wally was. But if you want, you can go ahead and get a cooler. All right, well, I'm going to get started working on this little guy. The first thing I'm going to do is spray him with a gloss coat. The gloss coat allows the panel line paint to kind of drip into the corners and get into the nooks and crannies. And I'm really going to put a lot of panel line paint on his wheels because these were kind of really brown and rusty looking. You're probably not going to even see the gray on here at all. And try to get it in there. And then once I get the panel line paint on, I'll give them a dull coat. And then the dull coat will allow the pastels to stick on there better. And I'll kind of show the procedure of how I do it. And I might mask these off so I can get those, edges nice and sharp. But we'll see how he turns out. All right, well, this should be kind of fun. Okay, so I just started some preliminary stuff here. So I did a little bit of painting on him. I noticed the buttons on the top of him, they are blue, red, and orange, like you see here. And this is actually supposed to be teal, but I don't have teal, so I had to use blue instead. So I just painted those. And then on the back here, I noticed that his little hydraulic things, they have kind of like a silver and orange kind of color to it. So I went ahead and painted those. But once I put some weathering on there, that orange will be toned down quite a bit because it looks like there's a lot of like rusty color on there or browning. So I just kind of touched those up. Now I sprayed everything with the gloss coat now, so everything's got a gloss coat so I can start working on this panel line paint. I think I'll start with the wheels. And I'm not sure how much panel line paint I'm going to put on the rest of him. So this is the stuff, you've seen me use this before. This is the black one, and there's a brown. I'm going to probably mostly use brown. So this stuff is like ink. When you shake it, there's a brush on the lid, and you just kind of smear it on there. And then if you have too much, you can wipe it off with some lighter fluid, which is what I use, just using some Q-tips. So I'll see how this is going to work, but I mainly want to get those wheels dirty. I'm mainly going to use the panel line paint on the wheels to make those look all browned up and dirty. All right, well, so far, he's still looking pretty good. Okay, so I've already gotten this side done. Now you can really see how that panel line paint makes everything look kind of grungy and dirty. I like it. Kind of drippy as well. So we're going to do this side now. So I think I'm mainly going to use this brown just on the wheels and on the treads here. So I've already shaken this stuff up. And as I mentioned, there's a brush on the lid right here. Okay, so let me get this at a decent angle, and I'll just show you how you just kind of put it on here and see how just like, because it's so liquidy, it's great because it can, it's like, I guess it's kind of like a wash, really. So here, let me get this over here. But what I like is it really gets down into those corners and like down into these holes right here and stuff like that. Okay. I'm just going to have to keep working on this. But I like how it just kind of builds up on there. You can see how it really takes the gray out of here pretty much. You can get it down into these little corners right here. Let it build up. And then you can even get it on the edges right here. See if I can get some more on this brush. I may have to go buy some more of this stuff. See how that just pours down like that? It's really cool. This stuff is like a modeler's dream. A lot of model builders have really used this stuff because it's just really good at doing weathering and stuff. And you don't have to thin it down yourself, so that's what's really nice. So I'm just going to keep on working on it with this. And I'll get it on the treads too. You can just get it on here like this. I'm not sure if it's going to show up that much because it's the black on there. It's a little hard to get down inside these areas. Sorry, I know it's not the best lighting on here. But, you can do all this. You can do these wheels too. So yeah, I'm just going to get them all over here. And the sloppier it looks, the better. That's the other fun part of this. All right, so I guess I'll keep on working on that, and then I'll show you, well, I'll probably start doing the pastels maybe after that. So I don't know. The weathering is kind of one of the funner parts of these kind of models, but you can kind of go a little bit crazy with it if you're not careful. All right, so I've already started working on the front here. So you got some weathering going on. A little bit on the bottom right there. So this is pretty fun to do, but I will say that it does get tedious after a while, especially on a big piece like this. So the way I do it is here, I'll show you. I got these right here. Now these are all the different color pastels that I'm using. I'm using black, that darker brown, this kind of an orangey brown, and a yellowish brown. I'm not using much of that yellowish color, and you can see the pastels right there. I just take a hobby knife and scrape it into this powder, and then I use this. I've shown this like a million times on my videos. It's this little, It's a lady's makeup brush, and it's got this nice angle on it. It's also a nice and narrow brush, and it's perfect for getting into the little corners and stuff when you're weathering stuff. It's from a company called Wet n Wild, and I find these at my local grocery store. Well, they used to be a couple of bucks, but knowing nowadays, they're probably like $10, the way things are. Okay, so let's go back to this now. So I already got the wheels done. I think I showed that in the last segment already. Starting to look nice and grungy. Okay, so now I'm going to start working on this side. So what I usually do is, I don't know, I kind of start with just maybe a little bit of, I'll start with this darker brown over here, and I just kind of dip the brush in here. You can see it on the right side of the screen. And I just kind of start going along these, well, I didn't mean to start right there, but you can't really make a mistake with it because, you know, with all the rust and grunge all over him, you can't really go wrong. Now, of course, you're going to have to take a little bit of artistic license on this because you're not going to be able to do exactly the same pattern that you see on Wally as far as like his rusting and stuff like that. And then, you know, like things around here, you can kind of go around this edge. Like a lot of times there's some edging like this. You just kind of work your way around here. And then you can add some black in here, and that'll kind of make it look a little bit darker. And it's a mixture of like black and the darker brown and the lighter brown. It's really cool. And then you can make some drip marks, which I always like doing. Like maybe when he was standing out in the water, trying to protect Eve, you just kind of go like this. Just make these little drips, like maybe some oil dripped. Maybe add a little bit of dark brown to it. So you just kind of go straight down and just kind of let it kind of spread out, like maybe it just started, the drip started there for some reason. But see how kind of it looks more like rust there? So you just kind of keep working your way around everything. And then also for like the larger areas, I just use this sponge. You just dip this into the different colors. So I think that was the lighter orange color, that was the darker brown, and then over here on this side I got the black. And so you can just kind of like, maybe if you want to get these wider areas, you just kind of tap it on here. And just kind of add a little bit of, let me put a little bit on there. Probably do a little bit of this here. Oh yeah, so you can just kind of get these big chunks of brown and just kind of tap it in like this. It just kind of adds a nice layer of rust in there. Rust and dirt. And if it looks blotchy, that's kind of good. You kind of want that blotchiness. See how that really kind of added some depth right there? You're just going to have to keep working at all of this, and then, you know, kind of see what you have to kind of eyeball everything. And then the good thing about pastels is, you know, if you mess up, you can just kind of wipe it off. Just, you know, dip your finger in water or something and wipe some of it off. That's why I like this. It's a little bit more forgiving than airbrushing and paint and stuff. You know, we can maybe add a little bit more black to this. That way it doesn't look quite so bright. On camera, it's looking different, I've noticed. Sorry, I'm not completely out of focus. I hope I wasn't out of focus earlier. It's hard to do this on camera, but so anyway, I'm just gonna have to keep on working at this. And I'll kind of show you what it looks like when it's all done. These areas back here, they're kind of fun to get into these corners, the back section, and also back here. All right, well, that kind of gives you an idea how that works. Okay, here he is all finished. Boy, I love it. I love it. He turned out really, really good. As you can see, he is quite dirty now. So I was looking at some screen grabs of Wally just to kind of get an idea of some of the weathering. Like I said, you're going to have to take some artistic license with this because there's no way you're going to get every little color and dirt mark and everything exactly the same. About the only thing I really tried to match up is on the front here is that weird C-shaped thing I was telling you about, that little half C. And originally I thought it was just some in-joke or something. I still don't know if it is, but I did see a picture of him where you could see it was a dent right there that was shaped like that. But this whole technique of using the pastels and the panel line paint, I think it works really good, especially for something like this. What I love about Wally is he's just filthy. I mean, if you look at him, he's really filthy. He's got some rusty areas and stuff like that. And so you can really kind of go to town on this, which is great. It makes it a lot of fun. Now, one thing, when you do use pastels or pan line paint or something like that, these won't roll as smoothly as they did at the beginning of the video. See, they kind of are sticky a little bit, especially going backward. So it's just because the paint gets down in there, and it doesn't make these roll quite as smooth as they did. I would notice that they would kind of get hung up a little bit even before I painted it. In fact, they almost work better going backwards. So, of course, I'm trying to do this on this smooth surface. It works much better if you do it on carpet, and he still rolls pretty good on carpet. So that's one of the things, but his arms will still, everything's still articulated like normal. You can still slide these on the tracks if you want to. This will still turn. His fingers will still turn. So everything. Now, I did glue his head because it kept falling down, especially right here. So you can actually pop the head off. It fits in between these little sections right here, and I'll get a close-up of that, and I'll show you what I did. But overall, I think he looks really cool. All right, so let me zoom in on that neck. So as you can see here, this part in the middle here, that snaps in between these two sides. So this side and the other side, and then the middle piece snaps in between. So I just I popped this part off and then put some glue down inside there and then snap that back in. And that way you can't see the glue. The glue doesn't, ooze out of there. And then that makes it stay in place because that one was a really loose connection right there. Same thing down here. I wasn't going to glue that one, but his head still kept falling down. So I put some glue in there, same way. And I just kind of decided to do it like that because that way his head is level. But you can kind of see how all of that looks. So I really like the way that turned out. Now here's the front part. I was talking about that weird C thing. And I also noticed that there's kind of like a little bit of dirt that kind of goes along the edge right here. So I tried to follow that, tried to get it on the lettering just a little bit. So you can kind of see the streaking. On the darker gray, I found that the black, of course, shows up better, but if you put the brown colors in there enough, you can see it. So you want to make it look like a little bit of rust, and that black and the brown really works well for that. See on this side, this is the side that I showed you I was working on. Just kind of started out doing this part of it, but I really like it. I really like this back here. That looks really neat the way that turned out. Same with his arms. So there's a lot of there's just so much. I mean, there's not a spot on him really that doesn't have dirt on it. He's got a lot of dirt everywhere. I really love these treads. They are so cool. Shout out to the Robot Hut channel on YouTube. John Rigg, he does all kinds of cool robot stuff. It's one of my favorite channels on YouTube, and I think he did a robot that uses these kind of some kind of tread like this that he did 3D printing wise, and I'm not sure if those are the same ones. Like I said, this was a fantastic model. Whoever designed this did a great job, and I don't know if the seller designed it or not. This turned out really nice back here. I really like the way that looks. The dirt buildup on those hydraulics right there looks really good. Tried to do a little bit of dripping along here, just kind of darken the corners to make it look like dirt gets all in there, maybe a little rust and oil and stuff. Even tried to get some on this rack. It's a little hard to show that up on the rack. I had to use that bright orangish colored pastel to make that show up. Here's this side. I like the dripping. That really kind of makes it look really cool. There's that. I had to put like 3 layers of brown on the treads just to make it show up better. It's like when you put the dull coat on here, the dull coat is what makes everything, you can touch the pastels and they won't come off. So that's key to, once you do a section, spray it with some dull coat, maybe one or two, couple of coats maybe. And then I always use a blow dryer to make it dry faster. But sometimes it washes out some of these. In fact, I had on this edge here, I had a bunch of some of that lighter colored pastels, and some of it got blown off once I started spraying it, or it just kind of disappears, unfortunately. That's just kind of the nature of some of that, some of the limitations of using pastels, but I really like that. Now there's his hands. I noticed on his hands, he pretty much just has streaks on there, and just kind of dirtied it up in these corners over here. I even tried to do the inside of his hands too. I love that these are posable like that. That is so cool. I mean, I just love it. So cool. All right, let me get some close-ups here of his head. Now, on the head, on the front, mainly it was just kind of dirty around the edges. And once again, you got that really nice texturing. I don't know if you can see it on that silver. And I used both the dark brown and the black. Make it look, the color combination of the brown and the black worked really good. Then on the side here, I just kind of did some streaking. Kind of hard to show, or kind of hard to show up on there. You know, you have to kind of really layer it on thick. Same with the top here. I did the eyebrow section a little bit. Now I know he's got a couple of tubes that hang down from here, and I think they go down into his neck somewhere. I might add something like that if I can find some kind of tubing or something on there. But I don't know. I mean, look at the detail in there. It looks so good. I did the bottom of his head, even though you're really not going to see it all that much. There's the other side near the top here. The streaking on there. So once again, it's hard to make that show up on the dark gray, so you really have to kind of pile it on there. And then I did do the bottom of him as well. I just kind of dirtied it up, even though you're really not going to see much of that down there. I even dirtied up the wheels on the insides. So yeah, there's not much on him that's not dirty. It's pretty funny, but very cool. So I went ahead and dirtied up his cooler as well. So some of the shots that I saw of it, it mainly just had streaks going down it, but I tried to make it look a little dirtier than that. Same technique. This was a little bit easier to do. I wasn't even going to weather this because I didn't think I'd really use it that much. I'm not going to display them with this hanging on there, but I do love the option to have it. I don't know. That does look kind of neat, doesn't it? The beginning of the movie. I think I saw another clip of it. I got to go back and watch that movie. Now I really want to see this movie again because just doing all this, I just love that movie so much. But I remember he was putting some junk in there. He would find really cool stuff when he was compacting all that trash, and he'd put the stuff that he thought he could use in there. So I thought that's really neat. One thing that would have been really cool, an option for the seller to offer, is the little cricket. I think his name was Hal, the little cricket, and that was, or I'm sorry, not a cricket, he's a roach. And Hal Roach, of course, for those of you who may know, Hal Roach was a guy that made the Our Gang characters, the Little Rascals and stuff like that. I think he did a bunch of other cool stuff. I think he did some Laurel and Hardy stuff too. So Hal Roach, it was just kind of an in-joke. But I would love to have a little Hal the Roach figure to fit on there. That would be so neat to have him in scale to this. And maybe I'll write to the seller who made this and see if they can make a Hal the Roach. That would be so cool. I mean, they made the cooler. They probably could find a way to do the Roach, assuming that they did the files for this. So I love it. So I'll put some before and after shots in here so you can see the difference. It's amazing what some paint and some pastels and just overall grunging up can do to a model. He went from looking like a toy to more like a model kit. And once again, as I mentioned, this is one of the nicest Wallies that I've seen as far as like a model, since nobody's ever made a model kit of it. Lego came out with one, but it was years ago, and then they had problems with the design of it, and they had to reissue it with some different parts, and I think that was pretty expensive for them. So unfortunately, the Wally Lego set didn't last very long, which is why I think it commands a higher price today. But this is really cool. I got it from a place called Plastic Park. Plastic Park is the seller on Etsy. He was $65, which I think is a fair price for this. I think it's a fair price. If you want to get the cooler, it's an extra $10. So I thought, what the heck, I'll go and get the cooler, and I'm going to see if I can contact him and see if they can make Hal the Roach. That would be great. But very, very cool. I highly recommend this if you're a big Wally fan. You don't have to go through the trouble of weathering him like I did, but it sure does make him look a lot more cool. And if Robot Hut is watching, John, if you're out there, you will probably find a way to modify this file and turn him into a fully functional Wally, knowing you, because you're such a genius at that stuff. But anyway, really love this kit. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons. I'd very much appreciate it. And until the next time, I will see you then. So thank you so much for watching, and have a good one.